One thing about me, I will never be preachy about what you should eat or what lifestyle is the best or keto's the best. Like, I will never be preachy about anything like that. But what I will be preachy about is how important it is to check your blood pressure, to know your baseline, to stay aware of your blood pressure, just stay on top of it, just know where you just so dangerous, and there's really not too many noticeable symptoms for it. I'll just talk about my history a little bit. So before I started keto in February of 2018. So in the summer of 2017, that is when my weight started affecting my health, because I just started to feel different. I started to have breathing issues that I was noticing. I would have panic attacks while I was driving because I felt like I could not breathe. My chest was so heavy on my lungs that it was hard for my lungs to work correctly. And that anxiety was giving me high blood pressure, contributing to my high blood pressure. I had high blood pressure because of my size. I was about 350 pounds at my highest. I am 5'3", so that is a very high BMI, and my weight was affecting my blood pressure. Sometimes it's hereditary, sometimes there are other issues, but for me it was my weight. But I didn't know I had high blood pressure until the summer of 2017, where my health just started to feel like I was declining. I was, I think, 30 years old, and I just felt like my body was giving up on me because of how I was treating it. And so I went to the doctor for the first time ever in my life, ever in my whole life. And I got a full blood panel done. I just wanted answers, give me the hard truth. Obviously, I delayed this most of my life because I was morbidly obese most of my life, and I just didn't want to be told that that was a keto until 7 months later. So the medication that my doctor put me on in July of 2017 controlled my high blood pressure perfectly. I mean, it was solid. It was good. I didn't start keto, like I said, until the next year, because that appointment and going over all of my blood work and stuff was just not a big enough wake up call for me to start a weight loss journey. Yeah. Yeah, I know. And so I was to the point where I was getting really embarrassed going back for follow-up appointments with her, because obviously at that first appointment in July, my first appointment with her, she's like, yeah, bitch, like you need to lose some weight. Like, she was nice about it, but she's like, yeah, you need to lose some weight. And of course I didn't. I would go home, eat the same shit, whatever. And it really wasn't until we went on vacation, I got kicked off of a roller coaster. Just the culmination of everything with my health issues, I was like, okay, now I'll get my shit together. Now I will. So of course I stayed on my medication and everything. Like, while I was doing keto, I started losing weight. I lost about 100 pounds in my first year of keto. And so it wasn't until right about the 1 year mark, when I had lost 100 pounds, that I had an episode where my blood pressure was actually too low, because I was still taking my medication without realizing that I had already naturally kind of reversed my hypertension just by losing the weight. So I had an episode where I almost passed out in public, and it was because my blood pressure was too low. So that day I stopped taking the medication, and at my next doctor's appointment, we talked about it, and she basically agreed with me, was like, oh yeah, no, you've lowered it, you're good. Like, because we checked my blood pressure while I was there at her appointment, and it was normal, and I hadn't been taking the medication. So at that point, I realized how important it was to stay consistent about checking it and monitoring yourself. So I haven't taken blood pressure medication since 2019, but I still consistently check it, and my reading is literally never over 120/80. It actually runs naturally, a little bit lower, like I showed you a few screens ago. And that's normal for me. So I know that if maybe I have a headache or something, which honestly, when I eat keto, I never have headaches. I used to have migraines constantly, at least once a month since since I started keto. I mean, that's like, I'm going off topic, but that's, you know, one reason why maybe your blood pressure will be elevated one day is because you're experiencing pain. Whenever Mike has a really bad headache, his blood pressure is insanely skyrocketed. So, I mean, it's just important to know your baseline is my point, because I personally know people who have had strokes because of having high blood pressure that they just weren't aware of. And it's so scary and life-changing. One thing I also do is I will take my cuff to my doctor's appointments and I will check it after they check me with their professional equipment, just to make sure that it's still accurate, still reading, you know, very similar to what they're giving me, and it is. And Mike does the same thing, which they love that we do that. They think that's very, you know, proactive. So that's, I can't stress enough how important it is to control it. And if you don't have insurance, typically blood pressure medication, like at Walmart, I think it's on their $5 list. So it's accessible and affordable for most people, and it can be controlled very well with medication a lot of the time while you're on a journey to maybe try to reverse your hypertension naturally, like I did. But managing it is just very important.